growth of the community is not just that you will just reach to that extent right away. It goes from the very first pillar of the community or very first thing of a community, which is like setting up the right mission.
Welcome, friends, to the Growth Genius podcast, powered by Infidigit. My name is Kaushal Thakkar. I'm the founder of Infidigit and your host for this show. Each week, I interview geniuses who have created phenomenal digital growth. We discuss the key techniques and share insights to help you learn and create your own growth story. Today, we are going to discuss the topic building brands via communities. And we have a growth genius, Pundir, who is the communities manager for Microsoft and also manages the community of communities builder, which is Community Folks. When I decided to cover this topic on communities, I could think of no better person to provide us with insights on communities. Without further ado, let's connect with the community guy. Paras, thank you so much for being on the show. How are you doing today?
Doing fantastic, Kaushal, and thank you so much for having me. And I see you have done podcasts with like really crazy marketers. So I'm assuming I'll be able to provide the same value as I come from a community background. But definitely I work with teams which you all guys work, and overall things which we do is basically to grow the companies and grow organizations. So yeah, I'm really excited for today.
You're being really humble, Paras, by saying that. But yes, we know that you have achieved great milestones in your life, being a TEDx speaker and multiple awards around the communities. That's not a small achievement. So I'll just leave it at that particular point. You're being too humble. And Paras, while I revealed already a few of those things, it would help if you could share a small introduction about yourself with our audience.
I am a community builder, and I'm really passionate about it because I build them for profession, build them for a hobby. The purpose why I keep on doing it because I really love the concept of people and growing all together through them. So all my task and everything is driven through people, and ultimately it ends to a community. So if I have to introduce myself, so I'm a community builder. I am coming with almost 5 years of experience. Under 5 years, I'll say I'm not an expert as of now, but I'm still an enthusiast. But have been able to help and support a lot of individual community builders and a pretty good bunch of organizations during my career. Maybe the biggest reason is that I took the risk and chose it really ahead of time, and kind could be the first mover advantage, you can say. Though there were other community builders, but I guess they were there and they were doing a fantastic job for the brands they were building a community. But what I did, I guess, I started with a community of community builders in India. It's called Community Folks, which is the main organization which I turned into a company because I wanted to tell people that communities can become organizations, and it's a whole brand you're building. Starting with that, which is a 3 years old community now, more than 600 plus community builders. And I'll not focus on the number because we never focused on the numbers. And it is still the same way. It's going on just on referrals, not promoting the link anywhere, not even asking anyone to join, and keeping a lot of, I guess 600 are inside and at least 400 people are still in the list to get joined or more than that. So I started Community Folks, and then the inception of Community Folks gave me a lot of advantages, and it gave me idea to start a lot more communities, which helped me to start and help a lot of other community builders. So the communities where I'm involved and somewhat got help them started is, one of them is Growth Folks, through which I met you, which is a community for growth hackers and marketers. And one is called Product Folks, which is a community for product managers and enthusiasts. Has chapters in India, outside India. Then I have a community for software testers. It's called The Test Tribe, with almost 5,000 members. And recently they did a conference, which is the biggest conference in the world for software testers. And the best guy whom I remember was the keynote guy there. So that's a big deal for a community to do, starting from nowhere. And similarly, a lot of other communities I have been supporting and helping individually. I also run a Instagram community. It's a group of youngsters, and it's called Zimbabwe. It has like some 55,000 followers around. And why I'm calling it a community, not a brand pitch, because I personally talk to these people and I have made them talk to each other as well. And when your audience is able to talk to each other, it is not no more audience, it's a community. So that is also there. Then I have led community chapters for the Bangalore region for multiple brands, which is for Facebook, for Trello, for LinkedIn Local. And coming back to the present status, I am running a community of developers as a program manager for Microsoft Reactor Bangalore. It's a global program. And what a good news to share that we just turned 5,000 members the day before yesterday. And it's been just 8 months and some 80 plus consistent sessions, events, hackathons, which I've been hosting. And the good part is that I've been doing this alone. So I'm the only one in India who's taking care of it. And you can say it like I really want to boast it that I'm the only one behind it, growing it from 0 to 1, the whole program, and taking it to some level. Uh,
Thanks. And
and yeah,
that's one of the reasons why you're on this show. Yeah, please go ahead.
absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's where we met. And apart from that, like you already mentioned, Kaushal, I really got a chance to be a TEDx speaker, which is a good thing. Community builder going for a TEDx speaker, which is not a everyday thing. A lot of different kind of professional people go there. And then one biggest award from our industry, which these awards were launched last year and this year, and somewhat the biggest category award. I bagged the biggest category award. I don't know how, but probably this is through people. It's called the Community Professional of the Year 2020 and by CMX, which is the organization for community builders. And apart from that, if you look around my career, which is around 3 to 4 years or something, no, max 5 years, I'll say, I might have spoken at probably 50 plus conferences and meetups and probably hosted 300, 400 meetups, hackathons all over the India and even outside India as well. I've been hosting and going there and I have hosted. And yeah, that's my professional career. As a person, I am really, really friendly. You can say I talk a lot. Like you can
Yes.
already see this was my introduction, and I've already taken so many minutes. So I love to backpack. I'm recently coming from a backpacking trip of 10 days from a farm where I was staying for 10 days in a tent and working from there. It
Envy
was
you for that.
that was really amazing. I host a lot of house parties, probably at my place from last 3 years. Probably 200 people might have come and go in my house parties. I love underground music a lot. And then what? Like humanity love talking about life, philosophy, karma, and being real in life, talking about impact in life. That's what which is very close to my heart. And yeah, that's my small intro. Thank you so much for patiently listening to it. Yeah.
Hey, thanks. It's our pleasure. And while mentioning all this particular thing, you mentioned also about Microsoft and that achievement. So, congratulations for that achievement. It's really commendable that at this particular juncture where India is yet at that particular point where many people do not even understand what is community building, you have achieved such a kind of milestones. So,
Thank you.
thanks for leading India into this world of community building.
That's too much for me, but I loved it. Thank you for saying that.
Paras, so for the benefit of our audience, if you could share more information about what is community building, it would be great.
Perfect. That's the start, the inception of this podcast. And I guess what I'll try to do is I'll try to make it very as simple as possible for anyone and everyone. I'll first give an example of an organization which everybody knows. It's called Harley Davidson. We know, especially men, they understand too much and they also feel a lot about bikes. I don't want to be biased here, but I'm just saying. You must have remembered that there used to be a group of a lot of bikers going together and a lot of crazy sound of those bikes and they're just passing through. I'm sure you must have seen that in life. I've seen that a lot of
Definitely.
times in life. And then
Lot.
yeah, lot right. And then there is a feeling which you have after seeing that. It's very fascinating and you have this feeling, wow, like I would love to do that someday. That's the feeling. Like this is what they sell. This is what that community sells basically. But the backstory, if you go, so Harley Davidson is just like another bike brand, right? Just like my Activa or my Hero Honda or anything. But I have never met any other person through Hero Honda when I purchased the Hero Honda and they have made me meet someone else, right? Who has the Hero Honda. But why come Harley did that? Harley was going down in their early 80s and they were not doing well. So they came up with this thing, community programs. What they did is like they created this group of bikers and they used to create some kind of program, some kind of trips and stuff like that. They called it Harley Owner Groups. The short form is HOGS. So
Mhm.
HOGS, the whole program, there is a marketing team, there is product team, and then there is a community team, which will just work with the audience and the people, those who have Harleys, and they'll create some kind of trip, some kind of extra experiences where
Mhm.
Harley owners will meet each other, which we do in a community where we create experiences so that community members can meet each other. So what happened with that is that it became so viral, it became such an experience for people that it started creating chapters all over the city in the world. There are hogs chapter in Delhi, Mumbai, even in Jammu. There are hogs chapter like that. Even there is a movie on hogs. It's called Wild Hogs. It's a Hollywood movie. And now understand why Harley would have done that. So to join a hog, either you or someone in your family has to own a Harley. Now understand whose benefit it is. It's always the Harley Davidson, and that's how they grew. They became a community driven by company, and whoever was their part of the community, they will first get all the products they are about to launch. So they will first check it, they will give them reviews, they will give them content, they will give them marketing, they will give them word of mouth, they will give them everything which their whole other teams are collaboratively doing it. That's how this whole program helped a company, and it's the company right now. So I guess whoever is building a company right now, they are not building it for just 2 years or 5 years, right? They're building it for their life. So when you're
Mm-hmm.
building something for life, you need to really invest in people, in communities, and your consumer is God, right? That's how it's been said. So rather than just building audience or just a network which is just through you, which is one to many, if you can create some program, if you can bring community strategy to your main business strategy, you can actually make a community where which is many to many, and your members are getting connected with each other and knowing each other through you. They will always remember you. Similar strategies being used by all the bigger organizations, like you name it. Facebook changed their mission statement to community building. Mark Zuckerberg making his designation as a community builder. Microsoft buying GitHub. Airbnb investing so much in that. If you guys know about Duolingo, so you should read about Duolingo and their community and how they've expanded. They do 2,500 meetups monthly, and they have 300 million active users on the platform just through the community, and that's how they have grown. And they are a team of two community builders, and that's how they manage these events all over the world. So just imagine, the impact these programs, small community programs are creating. The bigger ones I've already told you, like the Microsoft MBA program or Salesforce Trailblazer community. But there are smaller ones also where, small niche communities are being created and people are using it. So if you're not invested at the moment, you should think about communities, because this is becoming as a future. That's the basic understanding of community for me to you.
Thanks. And Paras, you mentioned about, let's say, the way the communities are created, and you gave the Harley example, where to become a part of Hogs, people need to have an Harley or own a
Yep.
Harley, and that would
Yep.
have definitely helped in increasing the sales of the brand itself.
Yep.
Other than that, are there any other major impacts to the brand itself because of which they should initiate community building,
Like I
other
like I
than
mentioned, like I
which you
mentioned
already
that.
covered?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you remember, I mentioned that how Harley team will first give their new products to their
Mm-hmm.
community. So the loyalty of that community will definitely give them reviews, which is going to help the product. You know, right? Like how bigger
True.
companies invest so much on these surveys, which will give them just one insight, which can change their product. Now imagine this community builder who's building a community, who's so close to the community. He has this access to ample amount of insights. If he can bring all of those insights and give it to their product team, give it to their sales team, sales team might not understand why we are not able to convert. So they can ask the community, our sales team is not able to convert, what they are missing. So they can tell them, this is how, these are the things you're missing. You're not touching the pain points, or you're missing that. Or they can give them product reviews, or they can give them product key next, what should be coming in the product, next
Mhm.
features. So
Feedback as well.
feedbacks, product features, helping in sales, helping your whole marketing, right? Because you need content. You cannot just keep on creating content from your side. You always need support. You always need UGC, right? How do you get UGC? All brands which have UGC have grown like crazy. We all know that, right?
True.
And they
True.
invest so much in creating UGC. So community give you max ample amount of UGC. You tell me the domain within a company, and I'll tell you how community will impact. Community impact your HRs, their whole ecosystem. Why? Because community within, if you are having a professional community within your company, let's say your employer community, what will help
Okay.
is in your employee retention. And which is the
Mhm.
biggest problem for a HR. The bigger companies, like I'm working in Microsoft, or bigger companies like these, so many
Mhm.
employees and very less connectivity. But if there is a community, so that's why they do so many programs and so many cultural things and all, because they want to keep people connected. And once people get connected, they have more stickiness towards the company. So
Very
such
true.
programs, and even hiring, I will always say, take the referral from my side. So hiring
Mhm.
also becomes really easy out of the community, because I know this guy. You must be knowing Growth Hackers, right? Growth Hacker
Yes.
platform, right? So you
Yeah.
know that. So the guy who used to be the director of the community, Anuj, he's a really good friend. He lives in the US. So you might not be knowing how he became the director of the community. He was just an interested member within the community who was active
Mhm.
all the time, and he was
Nice.
doing something else, but he loves growth hacking. And whenever people ask something, he will always answer that, or he will always connect them to something, or he will always refer them to the right resources. And seeing that, the company hired him, asked him whether he wants to join, and sooner or later, he became the director of the community. That's how he got into the growth hacking world. So just imagine it. It says like this is ample amount of resources. It's a gold mine. I always tell people.
That's really a good example as well. Yeah, right from a participant to the director of the company.
Yeah,
It's a
yep. This is
good,
so
good
amazing,
growth
right?
story. Yeah.
Yeah, this is so amazing. Like you just contribute, and as a contributor, you start and you end up as the community manager. Wow, this is what you always wanted, right? You cannot even an HR cannot find such person who is so passionate about the cause of the company. So just imagine
Yeah,
such
the
things.
community can help.
Yeah, such things.
I'm definitely going to implement this as a part of my strategy as well. Uh,
Would love to need my help. Please ping me.
Thank you. Sure. Then the follow up question to that particular thing would be that, okay, the benefits are clear and definitely it should be a part of the business strategy and it's going to help in a big way. But let's say if we had to create and specify that, hey, these are the best practices which we should follow when building a community, what would be those some of those best practices which you would like to share?
So okay, that's not a small question. That's a big question. But if I have to answer, because so there are two kind of communities, right? If I
Mhm.
have to divide them according to their stakeholder manner, so one is a brand community, which, like, say, I'm running Microsoft Reactor. It's a brand community, right? There are stakeholders who provide me resources, and I'm employed by them. I run the community. If I'm not there, I can be replaced. There can someone else can come. But and then there are individual communities, let's say community folks, which is an individual
Mhm.
driven thing. I take care of everything. They are not stakeholders on my head. I have to think about it. I have to think about everything. So a lot of things change from brand to individual. But this is a good thought to have in mind before understanding about community. So that's why I've given it first. Now do you talk about the best practices? So best practices for building a community. First of all, the cause. I'll say the cause has to be clear and loud. Okay, you should not build a community just for the sake of building one, right? And you know what? Like it's nothing less than building a product. So
Mhm.
that's how I feel it. Like if you want to actually validate your community, you should do the same things which you will do while building or planning a product. Like you will think of an idea, you will think about the problems which you think your community can
Mhm.
solve. You list them down and then you run it with a bunch of friends or with a bunch of like-minded people, those who feel are going to be my possible members in the community. So you start from there. You
Mhm.
really need to validate your community idea before just saying, "मुझे travelers का community start करना." You should never start a travelers community just because of you thought I want to start. No, you need to figure out that I want to start this because you're never not building a community for yourself. Remember that you're serving. You need to serve to people. You're not doing it for yourself. It will give a lot of things to you, but you're doing it for others and you are doing it for them. So you need to understand whether they need it or not. So that's the first principle. Validate your community principle or validate your community mission, right? Then do try to find a niche which will be better. And if you can be really, really unique, that'll be helpful. Then third thing will be don't go with a big head, like I'll just open up a group and people will start joining in. No, this will not happen. You need to plan it out. So rather than doing a big launch party, do a small one. Start with 20 people and curate them, handpick them, know them, understand them, and apply all your things to them first to understand that this will work or not. Then just like your marketing tactic, I'll definitely suggest a good content calendar while building a
Okay.
community. You definitely need to have a content calendar because all what matters in a community is the consistency and responsiveness. So consistency comes with the content which you float, and it will help your community to open up. Okay, which it should be a mix of curated content, some personalized content, polls, and some videos and stuff like that. So the consistency will come with that. And then talking about the responsiveness, you should think that no voice should go unheard. That should be the principle of while building a community. If you can do that, nobody will ever leave your community because people don't leave things which give them value and which are very responsive to them. They will never leave it. They will always be addicted to your community. So that's there. Then figure out the resources. Do you have them? Or if you don't have them,
Mhm.
how you will get them? Resources, I mean, like, people, first of all. After people, you will require a little bit of resources to survive for such things. For the start, it's good. I'll say for the launch and for the start, this much is good. Once it's
Perfect.
there, that there could be other things which I can mention, but I guess for the start, it's the best thing to start in that.
Okay, so that gives me a hint to ask you the subsequent questions. But before moving to those questions regarding the advanced stages of community, you mentioned about brand based communities would be different as compared to individual, whereas this points which you mentioned around cause and niche and other stuff,
Mhm.
that's applicable to both. That's something which I understand. But is there something different that, okay, a brand will do and an individual community will not do, and vice versa?
That's a pretty good question, Kaushal. So why I mentioned brand and individual? Because of the stakeholder, because of the governance, right? In a community which is a brand community, because this is not gonna happen from scratch, and you're gonna join it, and there will be people, there will be resources. And plus there are more chances of a survival of a brand community, because comparatively, if you see with respect to any other program or with respect to any other business strategy which you will apply, community strategy takes long, right, to produce result. And when anything takes long to produce result, it has more chances to be shut down, right? So the first layoffs which happen is from the community team, and such kind of team, support team, or such kind of teams which people feel, which companies feel are not required. So that's why I said resources are required, and in individual communities it becomes really really tough to survive. I have seen almost 95% of individual communities not surviving in time. They start with a lot of enthu because cannot survive. There is no fund for them, there is no resources for them, and they're not able to sustain. They die. But brand communities can survive because they have money, they have this resource, and their support. So that was the difference between a brand community and individual community.
Perfect.
Yeah, I guess that's what you were asking. Is there
Yes.
something else you're missing?
No, that's clear that one would be in terms of the standing itself, and rightly mentioned that brands would have much deeper pockets as compared to the individual communities. And with the things which you mentioned in terms of that, okay, no voice should be unheard.
Yeah.
It definitely is quite easy to listen, but very difficult to implement. And
Very difficult.
that's where definitely the individual communities will have to ensure that, okay, when they're starting, they need to plan it out well. Thanks for sharing that information. But yeah, that brings me to the questions which you directed us towards. And let's say that, okay, the best practice is to start the community. We understood that from you very well. But how do you amplify the reach once it is started? What would be the best practices for that?
Okay, so I'll tell you, the session which I'm doing today at CMX Madrid is actually about the growth. So you know what, like what I have mentioned in that, like if you have to grow a community, the growth of the community is not just that you will just reach to that extent right away. It goes from the very first pillar, right? Very first pillar of the community, or very first thing of a community, which is like setting up the right mission. What I have created is that if I'm making a list of factors, if you can solve all those factors, then your community will definitely grow. Because ultimately, to grow a community, you need two things: you need resources, and those resources will help you to get more people. So ultimately, that is the thing. But then you need other factors also. Like other factors are there which will hinder your growth, which is like existing members are there and you don't have good plan and strategies to actually hold them, which we call them inner circle, right?
Okay.
Inner circle is basically, so there is a funda of, like, how do you divide the whole community, which is like 100%. So you will say 1990 model. So one is
1990.
yeah, 1990 model. So 1% is basically that audience which is gonna make and create content for you, and this is the member which you need always in your life. Like this is your savior, this is your guy. So you need to understand that this person is really required. So you need to have a strategy for them. So the 1% is basically people, those who are creating content. 9% is basically those who are engaging with the content, and then you have 90% which are kind of like lurkers, or like which are silently there, not there, or like gone. But 1 and 9% are your people, and you need to have specific strategies. So when you're talking to me, what is like required for the growth of a community, I'll say there are few factors. If you can solve those factors and go above to them, you can actually attain good growth. Rather than just acquiring members, you need to work on the retaining members also, right? You need to work on the engagement of the community also. Like I already mentioned, you don't have a good consistent calendar, right? Because you're not following any calendar, you're just going it here and there. So which is a waste. If there will be no consistency, there will be no habit. To create a habit, you need to do it again and again. There are no rituals in your community. When I talk about growth, I really feel like, there are a lot of factors, a few I mentioned, which need to be solved and which need to be followed to achieve that growth. Apart from that, if I directly talk about to get a community and to get more numbers in a community, I'll say, first of all, the community you have created should be like fulfilling the purpose for what it has been started. If that is happening, people will come even organically, and like through your ads and everything. So you can do that. If you want to grow a community, why don't you create kind of a social side also of your group? So let's say you're building a community on Facebook group, right? But you create a Instagram page also, because Facebook group, it's an exclusive community. Not everyone is allowed, but you make an Instagram page where you share about your community, what is happening, create a FOMO around it. right? Let the right people come and knock at your door, but you will only allow those who are right for your audience. Then if you want to keep that growth, you need to keep it exclusive. Like I already mentioned, only and only if your someone has a Harley will come and become part of the community. Or if I'm going to a OnePlus party, I need to own a OnePlus phone because they will check my IMI number. So you getting my point? Like there should be a criteria to become a. Otherwise, it's just humanity. It's not community, right? If anyone can join, what is left? If I'm Pundir, there will be a community of Pundirs where nobody else will come. If you're Thakkar, right? So there'll be a community of them and nobody else can. So there is an exclusive part to them, right? So you need to maintain that. You need to continuously doing good brand collaboration with some influencers within your industry. You do that, bring them, show your members how valuable things you're doing, show other side of the world that how valuable things you're doing so that you can attract more people. It's just like whatever you will do to attract people towards your product, it's the similar funda you will require to attract more people or grow your community. The same method, the same way. But the one thing I'll suggest is that your product, you might make everyone use it. But in your community, please keep a filter. If you'll not keep it exclusive, if you'll not keep it a filter, then I'm sure it will just be a ghost town in some time because nobody will be feeling exclusive and being feeling connected to the cause, and people will think it's just a place to be there and nothing else. So yeah, these will be a few things I'll say which are required.
That's really good. And that element of exclusivity was really interesting. That, okay, the way to grow a community is keeping it limited to a few set of people. And that's what would make it a real exclusive thing which everybody would like to connect to.
Right. See, you think of it in this manner that you and me and everyone knows like that 80-20 model, right? Only 20% will be a
Yeah.
consumer. Why don't you
Yes.
make that 20% consumer your community? This is what I'll suggest to everyone. Don't make your community as your funnel. Make your community as in like your extended team. So those 20% people have paid for your product. Now bring them all together because they have paid, right? They have taken a big decisions in their life to pay for it. Now bring them together and let them be connected with each other. Create such venues which can help them. They will never leave a product because competition is cut edge, and we all know that how difficult it is to survive. So if you can keep your close people closer to you, it's really helpful. Yeah.
Okay. That's good. Thanks for that share. And Paras, the next question comes in while when you're mentioning this, it seems it's not an easy task, and definitely lots of involvement, not only from the individual effort itself, but also from the money perspective is needed to maintain and sustain a particular community. Considering that, I understand for the brands like Harley Davidson, there is some model of revenue which is getting generated, and maybe it's a part of the marketing spends itself. But what about those independent communities
Mhm.
where people are starting these communities, but how would they mint money or make revenue out of it?
Right. So monetization of a community. So you will only be able to achieve it if, first of all, if you have really created it well. That's really required. So first you invest your time in the community, which is almost equivalent to money, and then
Yes.
you make something which is valuable enough for people for which they would love to stay and pay around. First part is really difficult. If you can crack that, and if you can really build a place where people would love to do it, you can start with a small. So there are communities, there are few communities, very few I'll say, which are subscription based. Okay, people just love to be around, okay, in those communities because they find the curated content, they find the curated audience in the world. So that's helpful. Subscription model.
Okay.
Second,
Something like Toastmasters, would you term that as a
we can say that. We can say
subscription
that.
model? Yeah, there will
Network
be a small.
Network Capital. Network Capital has the same thing, right? Let's say Medium as a publication. There are a few paid
Yes, right.
customers. Medium running a writers community for them.
Mm-hmm.
So that is also a good example. So there are examples, and subscription-based communities are there, and it's on the go. Very less in India, but too many outside India. So there, like you already know, people pay for newsletters, pay for podcasts, right? So they can definitely pay for communities, and there are communities where people pay. Tanmay Bhatt runs a community for such kind of called some bot army or something, which is something paid, and that is something. And the second thing will be, I'll suggest you to if because you're creating value, you have an audience, you have good audience. Okay, how Instagram and influencers are making money, they are just creating content and they have audience. They are showcasing. They are selling themselves with the audience they have. Right. You, as
Yes.
a community builder, you also have the same thing. You have 2,000 members, 2,000 loyal members with lot of engagement. You show them the engagement and show them, guys, go to a brand or figure out a brand, understand. And there are a lot of ways also to find brands, right? And understand the right brand for your community. Let's say I run a designers community, which is highly engaged, some 1,500 designers. So I'll reach out to Figma. I'll say, will you sponsor me for next 6 months? And they
Mm-hmm.
will definitely do it because they will see a lot of
Yeah.
engagement, definitely, and a lot of things, and it's the right thing. So you need to choose the right people according, right brands according to your community. So sponsorship is there. Then you can do paid events. Then you can do paid workshops. You can sell paid guides. You can do bigger conferences where you can make the money. Then you can have paid courses. You can do launch paid courses. You can, in the community, you can do paid newsletters, which is
Mm-hmm.
curated by the community. So I guess there are a lot of things. And then moving ahead, if you can think of a product, you already have a community, right? Which is already there. If you can think of a product around your audience, around a problem, you already have your first customer or first cohort within the community. So you don't have to worry about it. You already know that this is going to work. So yeah, there are a lot of ways for individual community builders to do that.
That's good. Now, with all these things and even revenue in place, definitely there would be a condition where people would say that, okay, this community is doing well, vis-a-vis this community is not doing so well.
Hmm.
So, what do you think would be the measurement criteria for determining or saying that, hey, this community is successful?
Okay, factors to
How
define.
would you measure success of a
Mm,
community?
See, I have to say there are a lot of matrices and people have created, but okay, I'll share a few and then we can see. So KPIs could be first of all activeness. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so activeness is like you can measure it through analytics. So that's why I'm saying, like, that you should use the right tool. Don't
Mm-hmm.
make a community on WhatsApp where you can't measure anything. Very
Yes.
difficult. So you need to make it on a platform where you can measure things and do stuff, right? So like you can do on Facebook, you understand how many posts in a month has happened. Who are
Yes.
my top contributors? So such thing you can do. So activeness of your community, then understanding kind of like the number of members. So is it growing? Is it stagnant or is it falling down? Right, so that's kind of something which you can, and then you can see the kind of content, are they creating some kind of UGC as well along with that content. So take those examples to measure the community thing. Then it's difficult to understand, so a lot of social testimonials can be done, right? So you can measure it through that, like, that if there are people those are really talking about it, or there are voices those who have really talked about it on social media, you can track that out. And measuring the community is through people, growth, activeness, testimonials. And then if you really have to see, then there are few brand communities which are into the support side, like, they kind of like support communities. And there are cases where the whole support team has been removed and now the community is the support, like, complete support of the product. So there's this community, I forgot the name, this brand. So their response rate is in seconds. It's like that.
Oh,
Within,
okay. So response
second,
rate or
yeah,
that.
within second, answers will be given for anything or anything. If someone has asked, they will get the answer. So it's like that.
And
So
this is on platforms like Facebook.
no, it's their own platform. So there are a lot of platforms outside India like Khoros, Vanilla Forums. Such kind of platforms are there, which are there for a while now. Even before we know, like, it's been decades they have been running. Bigger, older communities are actually on them. There's a platform called
Bharat, yeah. So if you could repeat the names of the platforms again, that would be also of great help. We just
I can tell you a lot of platforms like that, like
What would be the popular ones?
Khoros, first of all,
Okay.
Khoros. So Khoros is there. Then Vanilla Forums is there. Then Bevy. There, Bevy is a platform which, and these are a paid platform. First of all, let me tell you. And Bevy is a
Mm-hmm.
platform which is more with focus of ambassador programs and like, to manage all kind of global programs for bigger organizations. Then Mighty Networks is there, Tribe is there, and there is a platform which I'm also building. It's already been launched in the stealth mode right now, but
Mm-hmm.
don't want to take the name, but yeah, it's already there, and we have built it with keeping chat and mobile first approach in mind, and completely
Wow.
help to help communities which are being built on Telegram and WhatsApp, such kind of platforms, because they are
Mm-hmm.
not community building platform but communication platforms.
Platforms,
So,
yes.
so with respect to community builders, we are building it, and I'm already working with 6 community builders, 6 different communities on my platform, and they are all launched. Communities of a technical writer, community of mandal artists, fitness trainers. and such kind of 6 communities are already there. So it will be out. So yeah, these are the platforms which are there already.
That's nice to know. We'll keep on following you more closely so that we understand when this
Sure,
platform is getting launched.
sure, Kaushal.
That's nice. And as the other thing which I would like to understand is, say, communities, the ones which you're mentioning on this online platforms are more online in nature, vis-a-vis the Harley Davidson example that you gave was more offline in nature.
Mhm.
Any specific differentiating factors in terms of managing these communities online versus offline? Would there be any particular difference in the way
So
this are managed?
yep. So offline communities, like I'll say, personally, if I say, I feel online community management is difficult. Though it's like sitting in a room, but it's very
Hmm.
difficult to bring the engagement because people, to make them a real human unit, actually need to make them meet each other for real, right?
Hmm.
So the engagement in offline communities has to be great, but then scale of offline communities is difficult, and where online communities are highly scalable. So what I
Hmm.
suggest is a good mix of online and offline community for any brand if they want to grow. Difficulty in managing is there, but comparatively, I'll say in online community because you have to manage a lot of things like moderation, content, and stuff like that. While offline community is basically events, right?
Hmm.
Offline community is like that. It's more of an event. So events is just one part of building a community. There is a lot
Hmm.
more after that and before that. So, yep, I'll say managing an online community is little bit far more difficult, not little bit, far more difficult than managing just an offline community. Yeah, that's the answer. Anything specific you want to ask? I might have missed.
No, I think that clarifies. The only thing, other thing would be that, okay, in terms of costing, and offline also would be equally expensive because getting all those people on the floor and travel from
Yeah.
multiple places would be
So
an
offline
expensive affair.
offline is definitely expensive. Offline has to be expensive, right? Because you're doing things. But you know what? Like I mentioned, a lot of these programs which are being run by so I guess we all know Head Start, right? Head Start Foundation.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
Heads are doing an amazing job.
I
Every
remember.
every se- every second Saturday, it's been they already celebrated their 10th anniversary. So they are doing a tremendous job. Every second Saturday, they are hosting in different cities and all volunteer driven. So if you can actually, yeah, you know what, like Kaushal, I guess see why we are talking about Head Start. It's been 10 years now, right? That's why
Yeah.
we're talking about it. Just this is it makes a lot of difference. The trust and everything. People love to boast about it, talk about it. So such manner, like I already mentioned in the starting, it's community just like your brand, right? You have to keep it for a while to make people trust you, and you have to keep doing it. So now
Mhm.
everybody would love to say I'm a Head Start moderator or Head Start city chapter head. That's such a good cool thing for them. You need to make it
Yeah,
cool, and
I see that on LinkedIn as well these days.
yeah, I was there with Head Start. So I was part of, we launched Head Start Jaipur chapter
Hmm?
2013, I remember. So I know them from there. And now these guys are like really good friends. Amit, Deepika, Ojasvi, these are like really good friends from because they're from the same ecosystem. So
Great. That's really nice. And I would consider Head Start itself as one of the example of the success story of an offline model in the recent times, other than the Harley Davidson's kind.
without any doubt. And their events are paid and still always full. So they are amazing.
Yeah. And similarly, on the online side, would you have any success stories, or you think that those are some of the most popular communities online?
From India,
Yeah.
India, it's difficult. I'll say a
And
few.
including Microsoft itself?
Yeah, so even my program is like it's a new program, right? So I
Hmm.
can't just say about it. I really want to give an example of an old community. A few developer communities are successful on Slack and other channels, and then a lot of mother communities, mother parenting, like or say women specific Shiros. If you heard about Shiros, so
Yes.
which they have like multiple such kind of thing. Then Baby Chakra and such kind of platforms they have communities. So
Okay.
it's actually coming up. Quora has. I recently came to know that there are Quorans and there are their WhatsApp group which is highly engaged. They have been running it from 2012. So such things are there, but they are not easily
That.
located. What do you call that? Searchable, discoverable, or something. So
Mhm.
such communities, but outside India, there are like I already gave you example of Duolingo, which is a strong community, and then a lot of WhatsApp, what do you call, Facebook groups are there. A lot of individual communities are there on different such platforms. So these
Mhm.
are there in the market with respect to brand or non-brand. They're thriving. we're really thriving.
And do you see any impact of, let's say, this lockdown and other things on the communities? Especially,
Okay.
are they growing or they had a step back in
So
terms of the management?
I'll tell you, because people have got no way to meet offline, they all are
Hmm.
meeting online. So as a community builder, my work has just got increased because people have turned to online and they really interact and they really want to meet more often over Zoom calls or over Air Meet or something. So they really want to talk. So I feel, and then this pandemic has given a lot of brands a clarity that how important communities are. So if you will see, there is a big rise in communities and the importance of communities and the hiring of community managers at different places.
Okay,
So
that's
I feel it's been a good year for community management. Like maybe bad year for a lot of other domains, but definitely a good year for community managers and community management people.
okay. That's the silver lining of the COVID situation. That's nice.
Yeah.
And any difference that you see between the Indian communities or communities being created in India versus the communities created in countries like, let's say, USA or some European countries? Uh, is there any difference between the two ecosystems?
Yes. So I'll tell you, the thing is the concept of forums and stuff like that. It's an old thing for people those who are in West, right? For them,
Hmm.
it's been there for a while. Gamers already been there on forums and having discussions. Neighborhood communities were there since long. So that the like if you will see, there is a big difference in communities being built here and then outside, because outside people are more, they are really open on online communities,
Hmm.
which a community builder will always want, that his community people, his members are become open. So and comparatively in India, it's just coming up, right? People are getting into it. People are understanding, okay, through a WhatsApp group I can meet so many people and I can get an opportunity. People are understanding, okay, I can actually make money out of my Facebook group. So such things were not there, right? People never knew about that. Like I said, subscription based communities. Right now in India, it's very difficult to make your user pay subscription. Outside India, it's like people are paying. They really love it because they know how much of effort it requires to build that community. So just like everything else, we are a decade back.
Aligned up.
Yeah, we are
Okay.
a decade back with respect to community management. But I'm glad that we are growing, like Kaushal, and I'm also glad that somewhat I'm also involved in that. Like I'm really part of that growth of community ecosystem personally, and then our community folks, it's creating that kind of platform for a lot of brands, a lot of founders, and a lot of community builders to understand the the concept of communities and apply it on businesses. So that's an amazing thing. In 2019, I organized first conference of community managers or builders in India. You can say in Asia also it was,
Mhm.
but that was for the first time which has happened. I did a developer specific community managers. We call them DevRel, developer relation guys. So DevRel Conf, I did like sort of DevRel Conf kind of a thing we did in 2019. So such things are coming up. There are no
Coming
conferences
up, yes.
happening for, I guess this it will grow up. Like I see a drastic change in communities and this whole front in next 5 years. Like quick drastic change you will see. A lot of companies
That's
are adopting, and you see a lot of VCs hiring community managers to manage their portfolio companies and do stuff around that. So a lot of
oh,
VC firms are
that's
doing it.
interesting.
Yeah,
And the managers would help the VCs in terms of
so they will help. So they will create programs which will bring startups together. That's the game, right? That's the whole
nice.
point. If under your
Yeah,
head I can bring someone together, they will always remember you and they will trust you. It's all about the game of finding trust. So yeah, that's what they're doing.
nice. Interesting ways. Paras, thanks for much of the information which has been shared till now. And we would like to know more about you itself now. Uh, I saw your LinkedIn profile and saw that from a community contributor, LinkedIn, which you were a city host, to this particular status where you're managing multiple things at Microsoft. You also have this community of communities, right? And that's where you earned that particular status of the community guy. How do you remain growth focused where you were able to grow so fast by yourself?
First of all, thanks for the research. And if I have to answer that, my whole things or life or perspective, everything is driven by people. I really love that part. Like working with people, growing with them, growing through them. So it's like that for me. So when you ask me how do I stay growth focused, because there are few people, those who are really looking up to me, that next time Paras will meet, he will tell us something new. Right?
Nice.
There's a responsibility which I have. Like I already told you, the page which I have on Instagram, I have been running it as an anonymous for 4 years as of now. Right? Anonymously, not telling it about anyone. And when people get 2,000 followers, they talk about it everywhere. It does 60, and I never talk about it because I was being able to be anonymous and then push these youngsters to do something. And every time they want to hear something good from me, they want to hear a hustle which I'm doing.
Great.
So I guess it's people which helps me stay motivated, stay growth focused. People like you, like what you're doing. I wanted to do this, but not being able to do it. So people like you, I meet through communities, and which inspires me to do more things and better things. And personally, I guess I'm very curious by nature, and my personality is also that I love knowing things,
Mhm.
be it anything. So that also keeps me on my toes for everything around. That'll be my cumulative answer for the growth focused mindset. Yeah.
Okay, great. And since you mentioned about the youth, so let's say if you were able to time travel at this particular minute, what
Mhm.
suggestion other than the few which you already gave in terms of being focused, being curious, what would be the other suggestions which you will give to your younger self at the
Right.
start of your career?
You know what, like this has been asked to me earlier as well, but I don't want to boast about it. But I really feel what I want to tell to myself or to anyone is to not follow any bullshit, but actually think
Mhm.
about what you really like and try to go there, whether it gives you money for the time or not. This is the learning which I want to give to anyone or everyone, because I come from a tier three city, studying in tier some low tier college, not that great. And then
Mhm.
growing, coming up from there, then figuring out everything myself, being able to work with, let's say, 15 odd organizations, be it like
Mhm.
small organization or big organization, but 15 odd during my time. This was something which I was following, right? Like I was not working for the money at that time. I was trying to figure out that this is something which makes me really happy about it. Then I'll pick it up, else I'll leave. So this will be my suggestion, which I didn't have earlier. I was just doing it every day, getting up. But then once you reflect in your past and you think, so then I realized that this is what I have been doing, and this is one suggestion which, if I could have given it to myself, I could have more clarity while doing it. I was doing it, but without a clarity. I was just doing it with what your heart says, kind of a thing. I was that kind of a person. But that's my suggestion. Like, you really need to focus what makes you happy, because your work is gonna take a lot of part of your day and life. So it's better that you find something which really you can resonate to and really feel happy about it. Now I'm really happy about it that I chose that. Yeah.
Thanks. Paras, now we'll move into the spirit round,
Hmm.
and I'll request you to keep the answers short.
You really have to
For
request me for that.
Yes, I need to request you.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, any quote that you live by?
It's a hashtag. It's called Rukna To Hai Nahi.
Great.
Yeah.
If not communities, what would you be doing?
I would have been a footballer and a playing for Manchester United. If I could have.
Wow, wonderful. Any daily habit that has been a game changer for you?
Recently adopted in this pandemic, I started skipping breakfast and having black coffee, brewing black coffee for myself and having it, which keeps me on my toes. So yeah, helping me
Wow,
to stay focused.
interesting. Anything that you want to correct in your life?
Clutter less. This is what I'll tell myself, and
Mhm.
but I don't know how to be stop being curious. So I don't have answer, but this is what I'll tell. Declutter yourself, Paras. Yeah,
Okay. And how would you define Paras Pundir in one word?
that's my favorite word. It's called. It's impact.
Impact. Wow.
Yep.
That's really nice. And Paras, how can the audience stay connected with you?
First of all, I'm very reachable, so you can find me anywhere, Paras Pundir or something. But my social handles, they all start with I am Paras Pundir. All of them, any on all the platforms, it's the same. So you can just keep one in your mind. I am Paras Pundir, and then you can find me anywhere wherever you want to find me.
Wonderful. And yeah, this is my last question. Any parting thoughts that you would like to share with our audience?
With respect to communities, I'll say that invest now. Okay, this is the you might have heard a lot of investment advices from people to invest in block Bitcoin or any other mutual fund, but I'm telling you, kind of accumulated output you get by building communities or by being part of communities is way more than you can think. So invest in, as an individual or as a brand, invest in communities.
Mhm.
Put your time, think about it. As a human, I'll say try to be more human. They are a very real, rarely real human. So try to be a good human and help others while you are helping yourself. This way we can give back to people, give back to our roots, and actually keep the balance. If we all will keep on taking, then how the balance will be there? So it's better that you keep giving and keep moving. So that'll be my parting thoughts. And yeah, that's about it.
Nice. That's good. Thanks, Paras. It was wonderful having you on this particular session, and we learned a lot, right from the small things, but life lessons, being happy, being impactful, tons of those. Thanks a lot for sharing this information with all of us on the show.
Means a lot. Like it's good to be part of such programs because they gives you first of all a sense of validation that what you're doing is right, and then a chance to actually sit for a while and reflect your thoughts and reflect your learning.
Mhm.
Right, what you have asked me, I am not thinking them all over the day, right? So these are the places where I can actually think about it and think about the journey, think about my past, think about myself. You reminded me the one word thing. It used to be my word for always. I wanted to have a tattoo of that, like impact. I wanted to get it imprinted because I really love impact. So such things you don't really do it every day, right? So thank
Yeah.
you for having me. It like I feel I really hope I have added value because that's what I really want to do in life, even if I'm there for a minute. So and please feel free to reach out to me for any help. If I can't help you personally, I'll definitely connect you with the right people. I'm a really good matchmaker. So, yep.
Thanks a lot, Paras.
Thank
We
you
loved
so
having
much.
you on the show. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Growth Genius. I hope you learned something today that would help you to grow. If you did, please share this episode with your friends and family. If you're listening to this on the Infidigit website, I would request you to use the podcast app on iPhone or download Google Podcast or Spotify on your Android phone. Subscribing to this podcast will ensure that you get the episodes regularly on your phone. The podcast icons near the audio streaming widget on the Infidigit website should help you to navigate to the show on your podcast app. Also, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the Growth Genius Show wherever you are listening to this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Now go out there and create growth for yourself and your company. Thank you.